Savakathamritam taptajeevanam kavivireeditam kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadaatatam Pudigananti te Pujajana. O Lord, your words like sweet nectar refresh the afflicted. Your words, which poets have sung in verses, vanquish the sins of the worldly. Blessed are they who hear of you, and blessed indeed are they who speak of you. How great is their reward. So today is the first Sunday talk for the year. We are starting with Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, continuing chapter 33. But before that, I would like to say a few words about Swami Brahmananda. Today is Swami Brahmananda's birthday. He is one of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna and considered as the spiritual son of Sri Ramakrishna. When God comes on earth as a human being, he brings his companions with him. So, Holy Mother, Swamiji, he brought from the Saptashi Mandalas, from the one of the seven sages. And Rakhal, or Swami Brahmananda, pre-monastic name, is known as, Sri Ramakrishna says he is a playmate of Sri Krishna. Before Rakhal came for the first time, Sri Ramakrishna had a vision. Actually, after his spiritual practices, Sri Ramakrishna wanted to share with the spiritual treasures with some worthy disciples. So he was looking for people who will accept it and who will they spread it undiluted. That has to be fresh people. First, the household disciples, some of the devotees came, but they were already had got their some of the ideas already there. But he wanted fresh mind. So he actually prayed. And one day he had a vision. Divine Mother placed a child on his lap when he was in ecstasy and said, "This is your son." He got shocked. Then Mother said, "This is your spiritual son." And when Rakhal came, Sri Ramakrishna recognized him straight away. Before Rakhal arrived, he had a vision that Sri Krishna and another little boy playing on a lotus in the Ganges. And when Rakhal came, he recognized, "Oh, this is the boy I saw, he's playing with Krishna." And when he asked, "What's your name? What's your name?" he said, "Rakhal Chandrakosh." And Rakhal literally means the cowherd boy. So Sri Ramakrishna's vision tallied. He's a cowherd boy. His name is cowherd boy. And Swamiji says, so Rakhal is a spiritual dynamo. In spirituality, he is much greater than me. And he became the first president of the Ramakrishna order, and he was president till his passing away in 1921. And one day, Sri Ramakrishna, during the conversation with the rest of the devotees, he said, commenting about Rakhal, he said, "Rakhal has got the keen intellect of a king. If he wants, he can rule a kingdom." And Swamiji Narendra took the cue and said, "From now on, we'll call Rakhal Raja. Rakhal is our Raja, is our king." So from then on, he was known as Raja, or later as Raja Maharaj, then became a monk. We can see in his life how one has to be worthy to receive God's grace. We say, "Oh, why don't God show His grace? Or why don't Guru show the grace and give me the spiritual experiences?" You know how when Narendra came new and Sri Ramakrishna touched him and wanted to give him the highest experience, he screamed, "What are you doing? I want my parents." You can see similar incident in the life of Rakhal. Rakhal was, many of the others were having spiritual ecstasies or experiences, so he also wanted to have some spiritual experiences and pestered Sri Ramakrishna with that. Sri Ramakrishna said, "It all depends upon the will of Mother, what can I do?" Then one day, Rakhal, as usual, was meditating in the Kali temple. There's a big platform in front of the temple, hall. So he was sitting there and meditating. Suddenly he saw a light coming, emanating from the shrine and coming towards him. And he got frightened with that experience. He got up and ran away and ran to Sri Ramakrishna's room. Afterwards, Sri Ramakrishna had gone to the temple and he came back and asked, "Why didn't you sit for meditation today?" Then Rakhal described what happened. Then Sri Ramakrishna said, "You say you want to have experience, you want to experience the ecstasy, and then why did you run away? First, when you get the spiritual experiences, we all want spiritual experiences, but we have to work it. Otherwise, we won't be able to withstand that." Just like Narendra screamed, "Why got my parents?" Later, he was able to experience Nirvikalpa Samadhi, where he lost completely the body consciousness. It didn't matter to him. And he wanted to remain in that. The same with Rakhal. You can see later, Rakhal had, after Sri Ramakrishna's passing away, he spent several months in Vrindavan doing spiritual practices. There, at that time in Vrindavan, there was another great devotee, Vijayakrishna Goswami, who had been to Sri Ramakrishna many times, and he knew how Sri Ramakrishna loved Rakhal, and Rakhal was considered as the spiritual son of Sri Ramakrishna, everything that this Vijayakrishna Goswami knew. So he asked, the master has given you everything. You are his spiritual son. Then still, why do you have to practice so much of spiritual disciplines? Doing meditation for hours together, days, months. Why do you have to do so much? Then Swami Brahmananda said, "Yes, it's true. The master has given everything, but I have to make it my own. And that will happen only through a lot of spiritual practices. The Guru may give you the blessings, but we won't be able to withhold that. The spiritual practices are to make the receptacle empty our heart of all the unwanted things, our biases, prejudices, impressions, everything. Only then we will be able to withhold the blessing that Guru gives." That's what Rakhal said. And if you look at the teachings of Swami Brahmananda, he stressed so much on spiritual practices. He said, and struggle. Without practice, without struggle, you can achieve nothing in spiritual life. That's what he's kept on saying. If you look at the teachings of you almost every second page you can see struggle, struggle, struggle. Practice, practice, practice. He keep on saying. And many of his teachings you can see in two books which we have. One is Eternal Companion, which is really eternal companion. It's an eternal companion with all those who want to do spiritual practices. And another one is Guide to Spiritual Life. So today, his birthday, that's why we pay our respects to him. And now we go back to the gospel. I'll just go back a little to what we last time, because it's already more than 2 months, or almost 1.5 months. We are doing chapter 33 with various devotees. October 26, 1884. Sri Ramakrishna is sitting in Dakshineshwar in his room with several devotees, and MAHlMA Charan is there. He is putting different questions to Sri Ramakrishna. MAHlMA. By what kind of work can one realize God? Master, it is not that God can be realized by this work or not by that. The vision of God depends on His grace. Still, a man must work a little with longing for God in his heart. If he has longing, he will receive the grace of God. It is not that God can be realized by this work or not by that. So the question is, what kind of work can we realize God? No, God can't be realized by this work or that work. Then how to realize God? Only through His grace. The vision of God depends on His grace. Then why should we work? Why should we do anything? Still, a man must work a little with longing for God in his heart. If he has longing, he will receive the grace of God. Once a devotee asked Holy Mother, if I do so much of japa, will I be able to realize God? Holy Mother said no. If I do so much of meditation every day for a long time, will I be able to realize God? Mother said no. Then how can you realize God? Only through His grace. Then what's the point of doing all this? Japa and meditation and all that? To become grace worthy. To become worthy to receive His grace. That's all. If you don't do the spiritual practices and wait for God's grace, nothing will happen. You'll be waiting. Life after life. First we have to do. That's why Swami Brahmananda again and again struggle. It's a constant struggle, constant fight with our mind. We try to concentrate the mind on God. So many other ideas come, thoughts come, the mind goes off. Sometimes you are not even aware that the mind has gone away. After a long time, I set the alarm time for 10 minutes of meditation. The time the alarm rings, oh, I'm supposed to be meditating, but I was thinking of what happened last week or 2 years ago or 10 years ago. Mind has gone. And I'm not even aware. That's what happens with many of us. So all that we do is constantly practice. There's no other way to control the mind. Sri Krishna, Arjuna, in Bhagavad Gita, we see, told Sri Krishna's mind is so turbulent, difficult to control, unsteady, not under my control. How can I control it? You are asking me to control the mind. It's like trying to control the wind. Can you control the wind? Trying to control the mind is like trying to control the wind. But if there was any shortcut, Sri Krishna would have given Arjuna. But he said, Abhyasena Kauteya Vairagyena Griheti. You can bring it under control through practice and dispassion. There's no other way. Practice. We say practice makes perfect. That's true. Practice concentrating the mind on God again and again. And what is practice? Practice means not just for sitting for 10 minutes in the morning. That's it. Not even in the evening. And other time, busy with all things of the world. Now that won't do. That practice, well, it may take millions of lives, who knows. But if you have, that's what Ramakrishna says, if he has longing, he will receive God's grace. Longing is very important. We have to thank for God. Ramakrishna gives a story. One disciple asked the Guru, how can you realize God? What sort of longing should I have? The teacher didn't say any answer, didn't give any answer. After some time, later in the day, the teacher was going to the river to have his bath. The disciple followed him, and both of them got into the water. And suddenly the teacher pushed the disciple into the water, pushed his head and kept it under water. The man was struggling, holding it underwater for some, you can't breathe. struggling, and then after a few minutes, when he was struggling really hard, the Guru let go. And then he asked, how did you feel? Oh, I was panting for a breath of air. Then the teacher said, when you do like that, when you pant like that for God, then you realize. We don't do that. We don't care. We sit for 10 minutes meditation, the mind has wandered away, but we don't feel bad that my mind had wandered away and I could not concentrate on God. No, we don't feel that. We are happy going it. I will sit tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow same thing happened. Day after day the same thing. Till we feel that I'm not progressing, I have to progress, I have to fix my mind on God. Till that desperation comes, nothing is going to happen. Sri Ramakrishna is longing. And we think that we have done so much of spiritual practices. But compared to what is needed for God realization, even practicing meditation for 3-4 hours every day, morning and evening, is nothing. Insignificant compared to what's needed. Because we have got a lot of baggage we have brought from many lives. So a lot of impression, they all have to be emptied. All those baggage has to be emptied. And the pride that I'm doing so much of spiritual practices, that's very dangerous. One of the worst form of pride anybody can have is, I'm a holy man, I'm a holy person, I do so much of spiritual practices. That's the most dangerous thing. And when we have that intense longing, God will arrange everything for us. Sri Ramakrishna says, attaining God, a man must have certain favorable conditions. The company of holy men, discrimination, and the blessings of the real teacher. Yes, a person must have certain favorable conditions. What are they? Company of holy people, dispassion, discrimination, reasoning, what's right and what's wrong, what's the way to progress, and blessings of a real teacher. Shankaracharya in the Vivekchudamani says, 3 things are extremely rare and you get only through the blessings of God. A human life, desire for freedom, and the company, the blessings of a great soul. They are extremely rare. We take it for granted how we have got human life, but we don't realize how rare it is. Among millions and billions of species, we have been blessed with a human life. We have gone through so many bodies, insect bodies, and bird body, animal body, even before that, plant. After all that, we got a human body. And a little desire for spiritual, when God realization, God spiritual life has come. It's all through the blessings of God and blessing of a real teacher. So we must, what Shankaracharya was stressing is, after getting this rare human birth, if you don't strive for God realization, you are actually committing suicide. Not physical suicide, spiritual suicide. You have got the rare opportunity, a rare blessing of a human life, and still you are not making use. So if somebody gives you something and you don't make use of it, you'll be taken away from it. So here, what are the favorable conditions? The company of holy men, discrimination, and the blessings of a real teacher. When we have the real longing, God arranges everything. All these favorable conditions come. All the obstacles are removed. As Sri Ramakrishna says, when the child is busy playing with the toys. The mother does her cooking and other household duties. But after some time, the child gets fed up with the play, and maybe mother try to give another toy, a different colored toy. No, but the child is not happy, throws that also away and start crying, screaming at the top of the voice. And what does the mother do? Whatever she is doing, she stops it and comes running. She often says the cooking is going on in the stove. She puts it down from the stove and come running and take the child on the lap. That intense longing when we have, then God will come. God will never disappoint us. This is all definitely the Sri Ramakrishna and other great incarnations saying, it's like they are promising us. It will happen. Sri Ramakrishna is continuing about the favorable conditions. Perhaps his elder brother takes a responsibility for the family. Perhaps his wife has spiritual qualities and is very virtuous. Perhaps he is not married at all or entangled in worldly life. He succeeds when conditions like these are fulfilled. When there is longing, then God will bring in the favorable conditions. God will arrange things in such a way that we are able to progress in spiritual life. What sort of longing is needed? He gives a story for that. In a certain family, a man lay seriously ill. He was at the point of death. Someone said, "Here is a remedy. First, it must rain when the star Swati is in the ascendant. Then, some of that rainwater must collect in a human skull. Then, a frog must come there and a snake must chase it." See, so many conditions. And as the frog is about to be bitten by the snake, it must jump away and the poison of the snake must drop into the skull. You must prepare a medicine from this poison and give to the patient, then he will live. Now, a very dear person in the family is sick on the point of death, and this is a remedy. So many conditions. First, it must rain when the star Swati is in the ascendant. Then the rainwater must fall in a skull. A frog must come and a snake must chase it. And when the snake is about to bite the frog, it must jump over the skull so that the poison will fall in the skull, in the rainwater. Then with that, you make a medicine and your patient will live. The head of the family consulted the almanac about the star and set out at the right moment. With great longing of heart, he began to search for different ingredients. He prayed to God, "O Lord, I shall succeed only if you bring together all the ingredients." As he was roaming about, he actually saw a skull lying on the ground. Because he has already consulted the almanac, so the star Swati is in the ascendant, that's all right. He saw the skull. Presently there came a shower of rain. Then the man exclaimed, "Oh gracious Lord, I have got the rainwater under Swati and the skull too. What is more, some of the rain has fallen into the skull. Now be kind enough to bring together the other ingredients." He was reflecting with a yearning heart when he saw a poisonous snake approaching. His joy knew no bounds. He became so excited that he could feel the thumping of his own heart. Poisonous snake, who should be frightened? No, but he's happy because the snake is there beyond the poison. "Oh God," he prayed, "now the snake has come too. I have procured most of the ingredients. Please be gracious and give me the remaining ones." No sooner did he pray thus than a frog popped up. The snake pursued it. As they came near the skull and the snake was about to bite the frog jumped over the skull and the snake's poison fell in it. The man began to dance, clapping his hands for joy. So I say that one gets everything through yearning, intense longing. Then God will arrange it. So that we are getting everything by our effort. No. We are yearning and praying to God to help, and God will arrange everything. A man cannot realize God unless he renounces everything mentally. A sadhu cannot lay things up. Birds and wandering monks do not make provision for the morrow. Such is the state of my mind that I cannot carry even clay in my hand. Once when Hriday, as Ramkrishna gave you, once when Hriday tormented me, I thought of leaving this place and going to Banaras. I thought of taking some clothes with me, but how could I take money? So I could not go to Banaras. All laugh. See, Sri Ramakrishna is giving here two types of advice. You have to remember in the gospel, the advice is given to householder devotees. Recorder is sitting in other devotees, many of them are householders. So Sri Ramakrishna's advice, what is given in the gospel, is mainly for householder devotees. What he advised, he gave to the young people, who later became monks, is not in the gospel. Maybe here or there, little bit is there, but he gave them the advice of intense renunciation, which is not for householder devotees. So he says, a man cannot realize God unless he renounces everything mentally. People who live in the world, have got family, commitments, they should renounce mentally, not give up everything. But for monastics, the rule is different. A sadhu cannot lay things up. Such is the state of my mind that I cannot carry even clay in my hand. One day, Sri Ramakrishna has the habit of chewing some spices after his meal. So one day he found that there is nothing in his room. So he went to Holy Mother, and Mother gave some for him to chew. And in a paper, wrapped a few for him to chew. The next time, gave it in his hand. So he took it in hand, and Sri Ramakrishna's room, from the room where Holy Mother lived, maybe less this much distance across. But returning back, going to the room, he could not find the way. And he was going towards the Ganga. Ganga is at that time full. And Holy Mother, as a she was so shy, she never got out in front of people. There were other people there. So she was worried. And Sri Ramakrishna also was in, Mother, what are you doing? Do you want me to kill myself, jump into the Ganga? And he looked back, he could see the path. But again, he was going towards Ganga. Then at last, Holy Mother found some of the worker going along the path. All the person told him to call Hriday, his nephew, and Hriday ran and brought Sri Ramakrishna back. All because he had that little bit of spices in his hand. He had taken for later time, holding up, for laying for the for the future. That was his renunciation, complete renunciation. So he gives an example jokingly. Once when Hriday tormented me, I thought of leaving this place and going to Benares, from Calcutta to Benares. I thought of taking some clothes with me, but how would I take money? How can you go all the way to Benares without some money? You cannot walk, it's quite far. And Sri Ramakrishna's health is very delicate, he could not walk even short distance. When from Dakshineshwar to Calcutta, he could not walk. And what about going all the way to Benares? So he need money, he had to go by carriage. But how can you take money? So he says, so I could not go to Benares. To MAHlMA, you are a householder. Therefore, you should hold both to this and to that, both to the world and to God. MAHlMA and many of the other devotees were sitting in front of Sri Ramakrishna. They are all householders. So he is saying, you are a householder. Therefore, you should hold both to this and to that. And what is this and that? To the world and to God. That's why the teachings he gives to the householder. Hold on to God with one hand and do all your duties with the other. He never asked them to give up the family life and go away, become monastic, completely giving up everything. No. He said, for householders, those who live in the world, mental renunciation. For monastics, both mental and external renunciation. MAHlMA. Sir, can one who holds to that also hold to this? One who holds to that, that's to God, can that person hold to this, the world? Can both happen at the same time? If you are holding on to God, can you hold on to this world? So that's the question that often comes to the mind. Is God realization possible if we live in the world? Or can one live in the world if the mind is directed to God? Two questions. Can God be realized if you live in the world? Or if you are holding on to God, trying to do a spiritually oriented life, can you live in the world? Can you do a worldly life, lead a worldly life, live in the world? That question comes to people. Doubt comes. Because the idea is once you think about God, you cannot lead a life, worldly life. Or if you lead worldly life, you cannot realize God. Is that true? Sri Ramakrishna gives. Before that, he gives before giving the answer to that straight away, he gives what he did once. Once sitting on the bank of the Ganges near the Panchavati, holding a rupee in one hand and clay in the other, I discriminated. The rupee is clay, the clay is verily rupee. The rupee is verily the clay is verily the rupee. And then threw the rupee into the water, into the river. But I was a little frightened. How foolish of me to offend the goddess of fortune, I thought. What shall I do if she doesn't provide me with food anymore? Then, like Hazra, I sought help in a ruse. I said to the goddess, Mother, may you dwell in my heart. Once the Divine Mother was pleased with the man's austerities and said to him, You may ask a favour of me. Oh Mother, said he, if you are so pleased with me, then grant that I may eat from a gold plate with my grandchildren. Now, in one boot, the man got everything, grandchildren, wealth, and gold plate, all now. So Sri Ramakrishna is in a joking way saying that it is possible. We can, how to do that? In the beginning, complete renunciation is very hard, almost impossible, very extremely difficult. He is giving his own example. He holding rupee, coin or money in one hand and clay in the other hand, saying clay is rupee is clay, and then threw both in the river. Give up both. It's complete renunciation. Even Krishna, he says he is a person of complete renunciation who could not hold a little bit of spices for the next time. And he says, then I got frightened. What if my goddess of fortune doesn't give me anything for food? That's all he needs, food and a piece of cloth. Then, like Hazra, all the people who read the gospel, Hazra, how he's a troublemaker sitting in front of Sri Ramakrishna's room, showing off his spiritual practices, telling his deeds in front of, so that people will think that he's a great holy man. So but he has got some debt, and he has got family at home, in the village, and so he's trying to get some money through all these means. Then, like Hazra, I sought help in a ruse. I said to goddess of fortune, Mother, may you dwell in my heart. Then she cannot go away. She has to be in the heart. And when she is there, there's no difficulty of food and clothing in that. Then gives a joke. Once a divine mother was pleased with the man's austerities and said to him, "You may ask a favor of me." God is very always gracious to favors, give us boons, but depends upon what we ask. They will give you whatever we ask for. "O mother," said he, "if you are so pleased with me, then grant that I may eat from a gold plate my grandchildren." So, in one boon, he got wealth. To have gold plate, you should have a lot of wealth. You cannot, ordinary people we cannot eat from gold plate. So, wealth, health, because you can eat everything. So, health, wealth, and progeny, grandchildren, children and grandchildren, all in one boon. Don't have to ask many boons. How calculating people are. Most of us are like that. We calculate and ask God for all these things, except God. We want God is a means to something else. We don't pray to God for God's sake. We pray to God for other things. Like a Santa Claus. You give me this, give me that. How many of us say, "I want you. I want you only." So, because we are interested in all these things, wealth, health, progeny, you can see in many of the Sanskrit hymns to different gods and goddesses. At the last verse, there's the result, Phalashruti. And it will say, mostly, if you chant this every day with devotion, with great concentration, you will have good health, long life, plenty of health, wealth, long life, and children, grandchildren, and liberation. So through these, if they are attracting, they know, the sages know our weakness. They show all these things to tempt us. So we chant. Oh, if I chant this, I'll get a lot of wealth. If I chant this, I'll be healthy. I will be wealthy. I have children, grandchildren. No problem. But then what happens? Slowly, very slowly, our mind will be turning to God. And gradually, in the end, we will have liberation. That takes a long time. But if you have with intense longing turn to God alone, then it is easier. So Ramakrishna gives this example to say how difficult it is to renounce completely. In the beginning of spiritual life, it is extremely difficult. We think that I don't want to enjoy sense pleasures. But then maybe after some time, the mind hankers for that. So as long as we have identification with the body, as long as we are conscious of the body, we are conscious of the world, all things in the world. So we cannot go away from the world. So Sri Ramakrishna says, when the mind is freed from woman and gold, it can be directed to God and become absorbed in Him. It is the bound alone who can be freed. To be free, who needs freedom? The person who is bound, who is in fetters. It is the bound alone who can be freed. The moment the mind turns away from God, it is bound. When does the lower needle of a pair of scales move away from the upper one? When one pan is pressed down by weight. Woman and gold are the weight. That may not be, here, those people who are sitting here may have seen the scales with the two pans. I don't know. Now it's all digital, automatic. You only one pan you can, even if you go to the shop, there's only one scale you put on top, you read the weight. But early days, there was two pans. On one you put the things, other put the weight, and then the needle has to be in the center. So Sri Ramakrishna says, When does the lower needle of the pair of scales move away from the upper one? When one pan is pressed down by weight. When one pan is heavier, it goes down, the needle moves away from the upper one. And what is the extra weight? Lust and greed. Because Sri Ramakrishna was talking to the male devotees, he says, woman and boon. Why does a child cry on coming out of its mother's womb? With its cry, it says, as it were, just see where I am now. In my mother's womb, I was meditating on the daughter's feet of God. But see where I am now. So, in the mother's womb, the child is thinking about God. Now come into the world, away. Ajahn Mother used to tell a story. A child was born to a family, and the elder child, maybe 4-year-old, kept on pestering the parents to allow it to spend a short time with the child, the baby, newborn baby. So the parents thought a newcomer has come, his place is it's not so important now, the older one, it may harm, so they didn't allow. But she kept on, I won't do anything, I'll hold my hand at the back, just short, 2 minutes. So they, all right. And the child let the child into the baby's room, and but they watched from behind the crack in the chink of the door. And the child went up to the baby and asked, baby, how does God look? I've forgotten. So the idea is, when the child is born, newborn child, it was in contact with God. So the baby may be still remembering, but I have come away already in the world and forgotten how God looks. I recently heard another story. Sorry for diverging. A child was having some heart problem and taken to a famous cardiologist. This is in India. And the child, first they looked at it and said, looking at the case study, a few pages turned 2 pages, and the junior doctor said, there's no point in seeing this cardiologist, this case. Sorry, we can't help. There's nothing to be done for this child. But the parents, young parents, pleaded, just please let him have a look at it. So in the end, the senior cardiologist looked at it and said, well, the child has got 3 months to live. Otherwise, if you want, you can do an open heart surgery, but the chances are only 30%. The child coming out of the operating theatre table alive is only 30%. You think what you want. They said, no, please go ahead with the operation. So it was decided straight away next week operation. Everything was done. The child was brought to the operating theatre, and the child asked.
Just a moment, Ramakrishna, you're going to give it a study. I'm just going to try unplugging it. Yeah.
The child asked the doctor, are you going to open my heart fully? He said, yes, but don't be afraid, you won't feel anything. You will go to sleep and then you wake up, everything will be fine. No, I'm not afraid, but are you going to open? Again and again, the doctor said, you don't have to be afraid, you won't feel any pain. The child said, I'm not afraid, but are you going to open? In the end, he said, yes. I got a doubt. When you open, look carefully. I'll be sleeping, I won't be able to see anything, but I know my mother has told that God is in the heart, seated in the heart. So give my greetings to God. Then look carefully how he is seated in my heart. The doctor was in a dilemma what to say, tell the child. He said, all right. And then the heart was opened, and 45 minutes, nothing is happening, no blood flowing. And the junior doctor said, nothing, we can't do anything. Then suddenly the doctor remembered what the child said. And he who never believed in God, oh, of course, doctors don't believe in God because they don't see God. When they open the heart or brain, they don't see God, so there's no God. So, but he remembered the child request and folding his hand under the table so that others won't see, he prayed, God, I don't know who you are, where you are, but this is what the child wants. Child wants to give her greetings to you and wants to know how you look like, how you are seated in her heart. What am I to say? And they were going to stitch back the chest. Suddenly the junior doctor said, sir, the blood is flowing. Blood has started coming. Now the doctor is in the dilemma, what can I? And the operation was successful after 4 or 5 hours, took long time. And he is in a dilemma, what answer should be given the child? So he rang our previous president, Dr. Abdul Kalam. So what can I tell the child? So Dr. Abdul Kalam said, tell the child that God is seated in the heart in the form of blood. God came to your heart in the form of blood. God cannot be seen, but God can be experienced. So he was happy. So the child is, what Ramakrishna was saying, in my mother's womb, the child is crying as though saying, in my mother's womb, I was meditating on the Lord's feet of God. But see where I am now. In the world, coming into the world, I have forgotten how God looks like. To MAHlMA, you should renounce London. Live the life of a householder in a spirit of detachment. How to live in the world? You cannot love the world. You have got family, you have got duties, your responsibilities, you have got your obligations. Live in the world in a spirit of detachment. MAHlMA, can a man live in the world if his mind is once directed to God? That's one of the doubts. First doubt is, if you live in a world of a householder, can you realize God? Yes. Ramakrishna said, live the life of a householder in a spirit of detachment. Then the next question is, can a man live in the world if his mind is once directed to God? Master, why not? Why? What is the doubt? Where will he go away from the world? I realize that wherever I live, I am always in the Ayodhya of Rama. This whole world is Rama's Ayodhya. Then this, it says in an example, after receiving instructions from his teacher, Rama said that he would renounce the world. Dasharatha sent that sage Vasishtha to Rama to dissuade him. Vasishtha found him filled with intense renunciation. He said to Rama, first of all, reason with me, Rama, then you may leave the world. May I ask you if this world is outside God? If that is so, then you may leave it. Rama found that it is God alone who has become the universe and all its living beings. Everything in the world appears real on account of God's reality behind it. Thereupon Rama became silent. You think about renouncing the world. What will you renounce? The world is nothing but God. The Upanishad says, Isha Vasim Idam Sarvam. Everything, moving, unmoving, everything is God, covered by God. So what will you renounce? You renounce God? That's nothing but God. Everything appears real because of God's reality behind it. All these things appear because God is there. The question of renouncing arises in the mind of people who feel that their mind is drawing them away from God. If their mind is attached to God, And there is no question of renouncing. What will you renounce? The whole world is God, nothing but God. That's why Vasishtha, the teachers, told Rama, if this world is outside God, then Rama said there is nothing but God. The whole world is God. If the world is outside God, then you can renounce. No, it's nothing but God. Then what will you renounce? That attitude we have to keep. That whole world is God. And with faith, the world is God and everything is done by God. These two attitudes we can keep. The whole world is nothing but God and everything is done by God. I'm just an tool, an instrument in the hands of God. Then it's easy. It's easy. But these are not easy to practice. If you try to practice, you will find how hard it is. Very easy to say that everything is God, and somebody does something or a harsh word to me, the presence of God in that person is all disappear immediately, in a second. I get angry. Where was I was seeing God, everybody is God. So what happened? God went away. It's very hard to practice, but there's no other way. Practice, practice, practice. Every day we may fail 1,000 times, but try again. 1,001st time. That is the only way.
We have the fortnightly Bhagavad Gita discussion coming up this coming Friday, led by Pr.Gayatriprana from 7:30 p.m. Here you can come in person or you can join via Zoom, or you're most welcome to join us from 7 p.m. here for silent meditation with discussion starting at 7:30. Next Sunday, Prabhupada Sri Dharapanaji will be starting a monthly series of talks on self-knowledge. That's Sri Shankaracharya's Atma Bodha. And that's from 11 a.m. It will include time for a question and answer session. You can join us for that. Now we're going to conclude with a guided meditation. I'll be conducting that. It'll include some teachings of Sri Ramakrishna to reflect on. So just give me a couple of minutes to set up for that.